Hello Warhammer Explorers. Before we dive in, hit subscribe so the next transmission isn't lost to the warp. Every click tells me to keep building this universe with you. What if the Emperor of Mankind arrived in Resident Evil? He weighs the cries of a distant city and decides they are worth the pain. He bends the math of the warp with will and old sorrow. He opens a narrow shard in the wall between worlds, using the throne's light as a knife. The cut costs him power that will not return. The breach snaps and drops him over a city with sirens and smoke. He falls like a star and stops one hand above a downtown street. Cars burn below. People run and scream. The air stinks of rot and bleach. A hunched shape slams a man against a bus window and bites. The man stops being a man. His light spreads in a circle and pushes the dead back. It burns the wet mouths and the long tongues and the crawling things on the ceiling. Glass shatters and rains down like dull rain. He breathes in. Each breath hurts. Cameras catch him from rooftops. One shows golden armor, cracked and old. Another shows a tall figure, eyes like small suns. A third sees numbers on the edges of the frame turn to gibberish as his field breaks the machine's mind. Umbrella headquarters, internal feed. Visual on anomaly at main and cobalt. Height, 3 meters plus. Thermal bloom off charts, no match on file. A second voice. Do not engage with standard UBCS. Deploy hunters. Lock city perimeter. Prepare contingency. A police car skids and hits a streetlight. 2 officers fall out, grab a woman and child, and drag them behind the car. The child stares at him with wide eyes. She clutches a stuffed rabbit with one ear missing. He looks at her and knows a simple truth. This world prays to nothing, and nothing answers. He steps forward. 2 dragging corpses crawl under the car. He points. A line of gold runs along the asphalt, clean and thin, and the bodies stop moving. The woman starts to cry. She puts her face in her hands. She does not thank him yet. She's busy surviving. The sky is low and grey. The city is a box of red lights and blocked roads. Sirens hit the ears hard, rise, then fall. In the distance, a dark cloud boils near a hospital tower, then bursts with crows and ash. He looks up, past the clouds, and feels the slow push of a threat above the threat. Someone plans to erase this city. He tastes the shape of the plan. Steel, fire, a white bloom. A purge by a distance, cowardly and clean. His feet touch ground. The street shakes. He walks toward the police car. His voice is deep and kind and heavy. Stay behind me, he says. The officers look at each other and nod. They do not have a better idea. A shape like a skinless dog leaps from a storefront. A tongue, long and barbed, lashes toward his face. He raises one finger. The tongue turns to dust. The body falls, dry and still. Ash swirls and sticks to his greaves. Another shape moves between the buses ahead, big and deliberate. It has a trench coat and a stone face. It turns, sees him, and keeps walking. It is a tyrant, but he does not know the word yet. He only knows it is a weapon with a man's frame and a dead man's will. He studies the tyrant's walk. Cool, steady. It does not fear. He steps in its path. It throws a punch. The punch would break a tank. He catches it with his palm. Bones shatter in the tyrant's wrist. No blood comes out. It stares at its hand like a tool that has failed. He speaks to the dead man inside the weapon. I see you, he says. You are not free. He squeezes. The tyrant falls to its knees. The golden glow brightens, then flickers. Something in him remembers the price he pays each time he chooses to save. He ends it. The body drops. The pavement cracks. The woman behind the car peeks over the hood. The child's rabbit has a smudge on its face that looks like a scar. On the corner, a woman in a blue tactical vest comes out of a shop, holding a pistol and a flashlight. She moves with trained steps. Her hair is tied back. Her eyes scan, choose, and commit. She sees him and stops, weapon low but ready. "Jill Valentine, RPD STARS," she says, voice hoarse. "If you can talk, I need you with me." She glances at the child and the woman. "We're getting them to the station." He nods once. "I will help," he says. His words are simple. They carry like a bell. A male voice crackles over Jill's shoulder radio. "Valentine, status." She presses the button. "Alive," she says, with an asset, sending video feed. She does not say angel. She does not say monster. She says asset and keeps moving. Across the river, in a dark room, a man in sunglasses watches the same feed. He leans back in a chair that costs more than a rookie's salary. He smiles with half his mouth. "Interesting," Albert Wesker says. "The board will want him contained, or captured, or copied." He routes orders with 2 fingers. Send a Nemesis unit to the city center. Hunt STARS. Evaluate the golden unknown. Do not engage directly until the risk is clearer. Above all, keep the project intact. They move through the street. A bus blocks most of the road. He lifts it with one hand and puts it aside like a toy. Metal groans, gas drips. The sound makes the skin on Jill's arms crawl. She covers it with a tight jaw and a nod. "RPD is 6 blocks, she says. "If we can get you in, we have comms, maps, supplies." She does not mention safety. She has seen too much to promise that. A dark tide pours from a subway stairwell. Dozens of mouths, open and hungry. He steps in front and draws a half circle with his hand. The air turns bright and hot. The tide stops at the line and begins to burn. He holds the line longer than he should. He thinks of other wars, other seas, other crowds. He thinks of the times he did not hold long enough. He feeds more power than he planned. When the last shape falls, the ground is black glass. Cracks race up his gauntlet. He hides the shake in his fingers. Jill sees it anyway. She decides he is not a god. He is a soldier who pays. Codex note: psychic fire is thought made real, fueled by will and life. It cleanses filth but thins the wall between worlds. They reach a barricade of cars near a diner. A man with a bandaged arm waves frantically. "My wife," he shouts. "She's inside. She's bit. She's sick." He does not have the word infected yet. He only has sick. Jill holds up a palm. "Stay back," she says. "Keep your distance." She looks through the diner window. A woman sits on the floor, breathing hard, skin grey. Her eyes meet Jill's. They have a plea in them. The plea is simple. "Please let me see the sky again." He opens the door and steps inside. The woman looks up. The infection writhes like a hive under her skin. He kneels and touches her forehead. A small sun gathers at his fingertip. "You are seen," he says. "You are loved." He draws the sickness out as a thin thread of black smoke and crushes it. For a moment, she is whole. She smiles and whispers, "Thank you." Then her body fails. The virus has already eaten too much. He feels the loss land on him like a stone. He lays her down with care. He does not look at Jill. He does not need pity. He needs resolve. He goes to the door. The man waits with hope on his face. He sees the empty look in the woman's eyes and understands. He makes a sound like paper tearing. He sits on the curb. He's a person in a bad night. He will not be okay for a long time. "Move," Jill says, voice tight. "We keep moving." She does not scold. She shepherds. He follows. Street by street, the city shows its wounds. A fire station turned into a triage bay. A school bus full of backpacks, each with a name on tape. A church with the doors chained and a sign that says, full. A dog bowl in an alley, still half full of water. He pauses at the church. Inside he feels a grate empty. No prayer lives here tonight. He leaves a tiny mark on the door, just a touch. It is not a symbol the people of this world know. It is a promise he makes to himself. A helicopter thumps low over the street. A spotlight swings across them and holds on him. The radio on Jill's shoulder explodes with sound. This is UBCS. Stay where you are. The chopper banks left to circle again. A siren turns the night red. He steps into the open and raises his hand. Do not fire, he says. The pilot hesitates. Then a shadow leaps from a rooftop and hits the tail. Claws bite through metal. The chopper spins, clips a building, and breaks apart in a shower of sparks. The shadow lands on a bus roof and stands. It is tall and wrapped in black. Tubes snake into its neck. Its skin is pulled tight over heavy muscle. A trench coat strains against its chest. A rocket launcher rests on one shoulder like a toy. It says one word in a low growl. STARS. Jill freezes. Nemesis, she whispers. Fear lives in that word. It is a hunter built to erase her and her team. Nemesis aims at the street. He steps between the rocket and the people. The rocket screams. He opens his hand. The rocket folds like wet paper. It becomes harmless trash and drops at his feet. Nemesis watches, head tilted, and learns. It discards the launcher and drops to the pavement. The ground cracks. It rushes him with hands like hammers. He chooses his range and keeps it. He slides aside with small, exact steps. His strikes are simple and direct. Knee, elbow, temple, solar plexus. He does not waste motion. He does not grandstand. Nemesis bleeds black and smiles without lips. It hooks his leg and slams him into a car. Metal caves. The car alarms sing. He feels heat through the cracked plates at his ribs. He laughs once. Joy lives in clean combat. He lets it. Then he kills it. Joy is for later. He goes still and lets Nemesis commit weight. Then he breaks 3 spine joints at once with a heel of hand strike. The sound is a stack of sticks snapping. Nemesis drops to one knee, then grabs him with a chain that shoots from its wrist. The chain bites like cold iron, but deeper. It hurts him in places that are not flesh. He tears free and tastes the metal. It is not from this world. It is adapted. He files the thought away with the quiet part of his mind that counts costs. Across the river again, Wesker leans closer to the screen. It learns, he says, pleased, and adapts. His finger traces the chain link on the paused frame. Excellent. They fight down the street through sparks, glass, and smoke. Jill shepherds the civilians across the intersection in bursts, using every short pause, every break in the monster's rush. Her breath is fast and sharp. Her trigger finger burns. Her hands do not shake. He hears more boots, more voices. He turns his head a fraction and sees soldiers in grey, faces covered, rifles raised. Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service. Contract troops with a nice logo and bad orders. A squad leader sees the golden figure and decides not to shoot. The decision saves his life for now. He waves survivors past and keeps his men between Nemesis and the weak. He will not get a bonus for that. He does it anyway. "Stations this way," Jill shouts. The squad leader nods and falls in on the flank. For a moment, in this broken city, a cop, a corporate soldier, and the master of mankind move as one unit. A clean line forms and holds. Nemesis grows impatient. It opens its chest like a cruel flower. A living cable shoots out and spears a wall power box. Light flickers across its body. Its skin crawls. It grows hard plates like armor. It roars and rushes. He frowns. He did not expect a beast to draw power from the city grid. He meets the rush head on. When they collide, the shock breaks streetlights along the block. Windows pop. Dogs howl. A traffic light swings and blinks between red and dead. He sees the woman and child stumble. The child drops the rabbit. He cuts the fight short. He grabs Nemesis by the jaw and slams it through 2 parked cars and into a billboard. The billboard falls on top of it. He turns and lifts the child with one arm and the mother with the other. He puts them both down by Jill's side. The UBCS squad makes a pocket around them and holds. Nemesis crawls out from under the sign with a new shoulder growth, wet and raw. It locks on the STRS patch on Jill's vest and starts to move. He points at its chest. A spear of light hits it and pins it to a concrete core 3 blocks away. He does not stay to watch it heal. He knows it will. He has seen stubborn foes before. This one is crude but tenacious. He will need a different answer later. For now, distance is enough. They reach the police station. It is a brick fortress with a tired heart. Statues look down on the steps with cracked faces. Floodlights make the courtyard a hard white island in a dark sea. Inside, the air tastes like coffee, gun oil, and fear. A rookie with auburn hair meets them at the door. "Leon Kennedy," he says, voice trying to be steady and almost making it. "Welcome to the worst first day ever." He smiles for one heartbeat at Jill, then sees the golden figure and goes quiet. "We need the communications room," Jill says. "We have civilians. Also intel on the thing." Leon nods and leads fast. The UBCS squad passes the civilians to a tired medic who has already torn a roll of duct tape into neat pieces for quick field fixes. The medic looks at the golden man and says nothing. He has no slot to put that in. Upstairs, in a dusty room with a map of the city, Jill stands before a cracked whiteboard and draws with a dry marker that squeaks. "Hot zones here, here, here," she says, marking the hospital, the riverfront, the Raccoon City University labs. Umbrella trucks moving along 3rd and King. Power flickers in a grid under their control. And we have whatever that was. Leon folds his arms. "We need to get people out," he says. "We need buses, an escort, and a way around blocked roads." A voice from the corner. "You will need more than that." Ada Wong steps from a shadow, clean and calm in red. Like she had not run once tonight, her eyes are sharp enough to cut. "They will sterilize the city. They prefer to hide their mistakes. You have hours, not days." Leon's mouth opens. It closes. He is not sure if he should arrest her, thank her, or ask her to dinner. He settles on a frown. Jill does not blink. "Proof?" she asks. Ada tosses a small device onto the table. It projects a map with a blinking arc. "Strategic strike package," Ada says. "Launched from offshore. Guidance locks in when the grid completes. They are building that grid now. Your friend downstairs already felt part of it when the monster fed." He looks at the map. He feels the pattern in the wires and the lies. He feels the hands far away moving pieces. He feels the math of death. He also feels something else. The warp rubbing against the edges of this place wherever he uses flame. Too much light here makes thin spots. Thin spots invite hungry things. He speaks to the room without raising his voice. "A fire is coming from the sky," he says. "It will eat this place. We must break the net that calls it." Ada tilts her head. "You understand quickly," she says. Her mouth twitches at one corner. "That will not be easy." Jill points to the hospital. "Power control here," she says. "Substation under the ER wing. Umbrella labs below. If we take that, we break one corner of the net. Maybe the whole grid if it's the main node. She taps the police station on the map. This is a rally point. We gather buses. We move civilians out while the grid is down. Leon adds, we hit the university lab too. That's where half the mess started. He glances at Ada, who says nothing and says everything all at once. The UBCS squad leader, name tape reads Mikhail, leans over the map. He traces likely routes with a battered finger. Hunter packs here, liquors here, he says, using umbrella code words like an old habit. Nemesis roams. It sniffs STRS. If we send the STRS to the hospital, the Nemesis follows. That gives the lab team room. Jill nods at the idea, even though her throat tightens at being bait. I'll take hospital, she says. That's vaccines, power, and too many people to leave. Leon, you take university with Mikhail. Ada can run comms and patch the grid plan. Ada smiles with her eyes and does not say what she will really do. He watches them divide tasks with the tired courage of people who know this city and love it enough to fight for it even when it will not love them back. He makes his choice. I will break the node, he says. I will hold the monster. I will give you time. Jill looks at him. What do I call you? She asks. He thinks of names used once by armies and prayers. They made him a god once. He accepts none of it now. Call me Emperor, he says. It is not a boast. It is a job. Leon snorts, then covers it with a cough. Okay then, he says. Emperor, sir. He draws his pistol and tries the word in his mouth. It tastes odd. He will get used to it if he lives. A tremor shakes the station. Lights flicker, then settle. The radio crackles with a new code. Ada stiffens. They're accelerating, she says. The grid is waking up. She looks at the Emperor with a scientist's hunger and a spy's caution. When you burn those things, you change the air. They noticed. They are rushing now. He nods once. He knows the look. He has seen it on Magi who think they can measure him. He honors their courage and pities their pride. Move, Jill says. Now. She slams a fresh magazine into her pistol and takes the stairs 2 at a time. He follows with steps that do not hurry because he does not need to. Outside, the night moves like a living thing. In the courtyard, a flood of refugees waits under the stone lions. Some hold small bags. Some hold nothing. A priest without a collar hands out bottles of water. A teenager in a hoodie ties a scarf around an old woman's wrist as a bandage. A man with a missing shoe cries without sound. He walks past them and they go quiet. He feels their fear shift into awe, then back into fear around the edges. He does not savor it. He carries it like a pack. From the north gate comes a sound like metal dragged over teeth. Nemesis returns, rebuilt and more eager. It has found a new trick. A second mouth opens from its chest, lined with hooked teeth. It roars and sprints. Jill meets the roar with a glare and a steady aim. She fires in short bursts at joints and eyes. She moves without thinking. He steps in and catches Nemesis again. They crash into a statue and break a stone lion into dust. He holds Nemesis in a lock and lowers his voice. Hear me, he says. You are a tool. Break free. For a fragment of a moment, something in Nemesis hesitates. A memory tries to climb up through deep water. Then a command crackles along a signal thread and crushes it. The hesitation dies. He sighs and tightens his grip. Jill flanks and empties a mag into a glowing cyst. Black fluid sprays. The cyst pops. Nemesis howls. He uses the sound to throw the monster into the gate. Bars bend. The outside street gapes like a broken mouth. The refugees flinch but do not scatter. The man with one shoe picks up a little boy, so he cannot see. The priest without a collar says, "Be brave," with a voice that shakes. Searchlights cut the sky. On a far roof, a shape like a knight in polished gold steps from a tear of light, falls like a comet, and slams into the pavement with a crash. He rises to full height, taller than any man here. An Adeptus Custodes, one of the Emperor's golden bodyguards, stands in a world that was never meant to see him. He raises his spear gun. He moves like a cat made of metal. He looks at the Emperor and bows his head the smallest bit. Then 3 more shapes flicker and shoot silent arcs that connect to his armor like leashes. The tear sputters. Sparks of unreal color fall like rain. The custodian's boots grind into the asphalt as if gravity heard a new command. "Hold," the Emperor says. The custodian's visor tilts, waiting. "Return," the Emperor adds. The leashes pull and he vanishes. The tear seals with a hard hiss. The street smells like cold iron. Jill stares, eyes wide. "What was that?" she asks, half a whisper. "A guardian," he says. "Too costly to keep here. This wall is thin. If I pull too much, worse things will come." He does not explain worse. He does not explain gods with eyes like holes. He does not explain what it costs to be bright in a place not built to bear it. Ada lowers her phone and watches the space where the Golden Knight stood. "So you have rules," she says softly. "Good. All weapons do." They form into 2 columns and move. Jill leads the hospital team with the Emperor, Nemesis stalking, turning their route into a marching duel. Leon and Mikhail break off toward the university with a mapper, 3 volunteers, and a brave UBCS private who keeps whispering a joke to himself to stay steady and never gets to tell it. The hospital looms, a slab of glass and steel. Lights blink on the emergency floors. The generator coughs and rattles in the basement. The ambulance bay is a maze of crushed vans and rolling stretchers. People pound on the glass from inside, leaving prints that slide and fade. Jill points at a service door. "Stairs," she says. "Substation below the ER. Labs down 1 more." She takes a breath and looks the Emperor in the eyes like she would a man, not a myth. "If you have another miracle, use it there." He nods, and for a second, he's simply a tired father who has seen too many sons go to war. Then he is Golden Fury again, and the door melts open like butter in a pan. They descend. The air grows wet and warm. The hum of machines gets louder. Pipes shudder in the walls. The floor is slick. A sign reads, "Employees only." Jill grins a little at that and keeps going. Below, the substation is a metal forest. Boxes hum. Gauges twitch. A big red lever rests behind a steel cage. The cage has a broken lock. Umbrella knows this room well. Nemesis drops through the ceiling like anger-made meat. It lands between them and the lever. It smiles with too many teeth. It smells like burned rubber and bad salt. He steps forward and draws Nemesis away, keeping the monster's wide back to Jill and the lever. Jill moves low and fast along the racks. She counts steps. She uses a reflection in a glass gauge to watch the monster's feet. She has done this dance before with other partners. Nemesis lashes a cable across the room and hits a transformer. Power jumps and crawls over its body in blue lines. It laughs with no humor. He feels the raw power hit the machine field around him and around the city and around a guidance arc high in the sky. Time runs faster now. "Now," he says. Jill lunges for the lever. A tongue with claws drops from the ceiling toward her face. He throws a coin of light. The tongue falls in 2 clean parts. Jill slams the lever down. The lights die. The hum stops. The room takes a deep breath and goes quiet. Above them, blocks of city turn dark. Screens in umbrella control rooms go black. A red alarm writes itself across a dozen monitors. Grid node loss. Recalculating. ETA shift. Plangem 42. Minair. A clean man in a clean suit exhales through his nose and says one dry swear word. Wesker watches the same alarms and nods. Valentine, he says to himself, like savouring a drink. Then he types a code that tells the Nemesis to stop playing and kill. In the dark, Nemesis moves by smell and hate. It swings wild and fast. He catches its wrists and holds them. In the silence, he whispers again to the thing inside the thing. You were a man once, he says. They stole your name. I can give it back. Nemesis convulses. For a heartbeat, the room holds three figures. The Emperor, Jill, and a human shadow that looks like it is trying to remember its own face. Then the signal slams back in and erases the shadow. Nemesis screams in rage that it cannot explain. He makes a choice he did not want to make. He draws a circle on the floor with his toe. The circle lights. The light eats the sound. He steps inside it with Nemesis and shuts the door the world makes around them. Nothing else in the room can get in. Nothing else can get hurt. He pays for that door with breath he cannot afford. His hands shake. Cracks widen. Jill hears only a low hum. She sees light through her fingers when she shields her eyes. She hears his voice again. Steady. Go, he says. Finish the job. She goes. She's not a person who wastes gifts. She drops to the lab level and finds a thick glass door with an umbrella logo like a red smirk. Ada's voice reaches her through the stairwell radio. Left side, third panel, manual bypass. You're welcome. Jill rips the panel. Sparks bite her fingers. She ignores them. The door opens. Inside, cold rooms hum. Vials sit on racks like soldiers at attention. A terminal blinks with a half-written report. G-strain cross-reactivity with P contact. Further tests hindered by... The rest is a smear. Jill grabs samples she can carry and a drive full of data she cannot read, and hopes someone else can. On the substation floor, the circle dims, then fails. He stands over Nemesis and breathes hard. The monster lies on the ground, still, then shivers, then rises again with a new shoulder growth, like a hateful wing. It learns in fast, ugly steps. He hopes he can keep up. He gestures and opens a thin window to a place only he can see, a golden hall. A throne like a mountain of light, the smell of incense, the sound of 10,000 prayers. He pulls one voice through the window, then stops himself. No, he thinks, not yet. This place cannot bear more. He turns the window into a mirror and holds it up to Nemesis. It sees itself. It sees the chain in its neck. It sees the command on its tongue. It roars and shatters the mirror with a punch. The shards fall and vanish before they hit the floor. He lets himself smile. There is someone home in there after all. Jill returns with a small case and a drive. Got it, she says. We need to go. He nods. He kicks Nemesis into a row of dead transformers and buys 2 breaths. They take the stairs up. In the ER, a doctor with hollow cheeks grabs Jill's sleeve. You can't leave, he says, voice ragged. We have babies on vents. We have people on pumps. The generator. He looks at the dark hall and makes a sound like a plea in a foreign language. It probably means, please don't make me choose. The Emperor touches the generator with 2 fingers. It coughs, wheezes, then runs. He does not draw power from nowhere. He gives it from himself. The cost lands under his chains like new stones. He straightens his back and makes it look easy. 2 hours, he says to the doctor. No more. The doctor nods, eyes wet. He starts moving with purpose again. He had started to slow. Now he is a soldier too. They go out through the ambulance bay. Jill hears the city breathe different. Without the node, the guidance slows. Without the guidance, the clock ticks less loud. They bought time. Not enough. Some. She takes it and moves. Outside, the sky splits with a lightning fork that leaves no sound behind. He glances up. He feels the tear he made when he came here, still healing, still weak. He knows he will need it again. He knows that each time he touches it, it frays. They cross a parking lot full of glass and old blood. A nurse with a baseball bat joins them. A man in a lab coat with a broken nose stumbles along and does not complain. The stuffed rabbit rides in the child's arms, clean now. Someone washed it. On the roof of a nearby building, a squad of pale figures climbs like spiders. Lickers. Their brains pulse in the open air. Their claws drag sparks off the cement. They taste the sound of hearts below. They drop as one, fast as knives. He does not burn them. He learned that lesson. He draws instead. He makes a net of plain force and lets gravity do the rest. They hit the asphalt hard and do not get back up. It is a clean, simple solution. He files it under use more. Bus depot, Jill says, pointing. We gather wheels. We roll in convoy. We don't stop. She speaks like a sergeant. People listen. He hears a low crunch and knows Nemesis is back. He turns and puts himself in the space where the fight must happen. He does not roar. He does not posture. He chooses ground for a short battle that buys time, not a long one he might win by inches. They collide again. He blocks, strikes, pivots. He avoids the chain and the cable. He targets growths. He learns the recovery times of each limb and punishes the slow ones. He looks bored to make it easier for Jill to lead the civilians away without panic. Nemesis makes a new sound now, something like words but broken, like a song taught to a throat not made for it. Saint R.S., it says, then softer. Free. He almost loses the beat. He does not. He steps in, twists and breaks an elbow. Not out of anger, out of necessity. Jill gets the buses moving. Engines cough, catch and hold. Mikhail's voice crackles over a shared channel. University node down soon, he reports. We found maps, files, and a nasty surprise. He does not share the surprise. He is busy surviving it. The first convoy rolls. A bus door closes with a clank. The child with the rabbit sits in the front seat and waves as they pass. He smiles back without teeth. The driver grips the wheel like a last good thing in a bad night. He gives ground in measured steps. Nemesis follows like an angry tide. He leads it into an alley where the walls are close and the ground is uneven. He lets it trip. It falls and takes down a stack of trash cans in a crash that makes Jill laugh once, loud and mad and bright. He treasures that sound. When he finally breaks contact, he does it clean. He knees Nemesis in the throat, clamps the chain with one hand, and rips it out of the socket. The chain comes free with a hiss and a spray. Nemesis staggers, shocked. He throws the chain onto a rooftop. It arcs, sparks, and goes still. He looks at Jill. Go, he says again. I will find you. She nods and climbs onto the last bus. She looks back once. He gives her a small nod like a blessing. The bus grinds into gear and moves. He stands alone in the street for a moment. He listens to the buses fade. He listens to the city talk to itself in noise and pain. He feels the grid trying to knit around the hole they made. He feels the hands behind the curtain. He turns his face toward the source, like a hunter smelling smoke. Across town, in a glass room high above the river, Albert Wesker watches him through a scope and smiles without warmth. "Adapt," Wesker says to an empty room. "So will we." Up to now, the Emperor fell into a dying city, saved who he could, met warriors with good hearts and watchers with cold eyes, fought a perfect hunter, and broke one piece of a plan to burn it all. The clock still runs, the enemy learns, and far above, a weapon waits for the net to close. The convoy rolls past the museum steps and vanishes into the dark. The city swallows the sound and then feeds back a new one. Distant helicopters, a broken siren, boots on wet stone. The Emperor turns from the alley and moves toward the river. Jill keeps the hospital samples tight to her chest and leads the team through side streets. Ada ghosts near, never quite at the front, never quite at the back. The nurse with the bat sticks close to Jill. The labman keeps touching the case like it might fly away. At the university, Leon and Mikhail fight their way out of the science quad. A bench is flipped and used as cover. Two lickers die under a crossfire so tight that the bullets shear their tongues in mid-lash. Leon's breathing is loud in his own ears. His hands are steady, and he is proud of that. The Emperor reaches them as a hunter vaults a stair rail. He does not burn it. He catches it, spins once, and throws it into a bronze statue that had survived 2 wars and 1 bad funding round. The statue loses. The hunter does not stand again. Mikhail grins with half a mouth. "Good timing," he says. "We found the sub-grid." He points to a concrete cube sunk into the quad. Cables as thick as thighs run into it from brutal angles. Umbrella logos sit on the caps like smirks. Ada steps up, head tilted. "Tamper switches," she says. "Detonate if cut wrong. The blast vents down. Very tidy, very cruel." The Emperor kneels by the cables. He listens with his hands. He hears the music of current and command. He hears a second song under it, thin and ugly, like teeth grinding. He looks at Ada. She meets his gaze and sees that he sees too much. "Can you cut it without burning the campus down?" Leon asks. He tries to make it a joke. It comes out like a plea. "Yes," the Emperor says, "but I must touch it deep." He looks at Jill. "Keep people back." She clears the quad with a cop's voice that has saved lives for years. Mikhail places his men on angles. Ada opens a small case of tools like knives that want to be something else. Leon watches the roofline. The Emperor presses his palm to the lid. His light threads down into the concrete like water finds cracks. He does not smash. He separates. He finds the kill switch and cups it like a small, angry bird until it goes to sleep. He finds the call signaling core and pinches it shut. A hiss of air escapes the cube. Gauges wind to 0. The grid map in 3 control rooms goes crooked and then wrong. A red line through the city breaks in the middle like a snapped bone. Far offshore, a captain of a ship he will never meet sees a countdown pause and does not know why. Jill feels the change before the lights show it. The street seems to exhale. The hospital generator stutters but stays on. Ada lets go of a breath she had not noticed she was holding. "Good," Ada says. She puts the small case away and looks like a woman checking a watch. Leon laughs, a short, shocked sound that he hides with a cough. "We did it," he says. He believes it for 3 seconds. Then a ripple moves through the quad, and he knows that nothing is that easy. The air tastes like metal left in rain. 3 shapes slide out of a building entrance without noise. They are tall and wrapped in matte plates. There are no eye holes, no seams, no logos. Each has a harness with a compact device pulsing at a slow, mean rhythm. They bring a silence with them that the ears feel like pressure. Mikhail frowns. "What are those?" he asks. voice low. Ada's mouth tightens. New, she says, or old and hidden. Umbrella has many toys. She takes one small step back and hates herself for it. The Emperor stands. He feels it at once. It is not heat or cold. It is a hole where thought should be. It pushes at his mind like a heavy door grinding shut. His light dims. The thin spots in the air shiver and then seal. He feels something inside him left outside the room. The three shapes fan out. The closest tilts its blank face toward him. The pulse on its chest speeds up. Leon raises his pistol. The Emperor lifts a hand to stop him and feels his gesture drag. His joints hurt like old wood. He takes one step and the ground feels deeper than it is. He understands the threat. He smiles without joy. The enemy learned. He does not run. He closes the distance under the weight of the silence. He meets the first with his forearm and shoves it into a pillar. The pillar cracks. The thing does not cry out. It grabs his arm and something crawls up his bones like ice. He twists free by angle and leverage, not power. He knifes his hand under the harness buckles and rips the device free. It fights him with a field-like suction. He shoves it into the cracked pillar. The pillar eats it. The silence thins. The second shape glides in with a baton that is not a baton. It is more like a short-range, conical blank. When it touches his armor, stars go dead. He steps aside and lets the baton hit stone. The stone flakes off into dust without heat. Jill fires tight pairs at harness clips. Her rounds chip ceramic, cut straps, and make the devices wobble. Mikhail's men switch to burst fire at the pulses. Leon changes mag and thinks in lines. Ada watches for a wire, a tell, a port. The third shape steps past the Emperor and heads straight for Jill. It is an algorithm given legs. He cannot pull it with will. He can only move his body. He does. He takes 2 quick steps, hits it behind the knee, and folds it down. It lands on its face. He plants a knee on its back and pries the harness apart. It explodes with no flame, only hush. The world goes muted, like being underwater. He feels it in his teeth. For one long second, everything is slow. Then sound crashes back. He stands, dizzy, and hides it. The first shape rises from broken stone. The second flanks left. The third tries to stand and cannot. Jill kicks it in the head and keeps moving. She is not a saint. She is a problem solver. Devices, Ada says, voice flat, calm. Take the devices. She points with a chin and a sliver of steel in her eyes. They are the field. The suits are just bones. Mikhail grunts and moves his men in. They shoot buckle points. They snap cords. They take hits on plates that rattle ribs but do not end them. The Emperor splits the second device with his hands while it screams at a frequency that makes the world go grey. He holds on. He will not show fear in front of these young ones who have so little and keep giving. The third device dies with a wheeze. The pressure lifts like a lid taken off. His light flows back into his hands. He does not use it. He has another lesson to teach. He stands over the last suite as it crawls. He grabs the V at the neck and tears the plate free. There is a man inside, pale, sweating, eyes wide in a face that forgot sunlight. He looks at the Emperor like a child looks at a storm. "Who are you?" Jill asks, gun steady. "What are you?" The man tries to talk and coughs instead. Ada kneels and checks his harness. She pokes a cartridge with a nail. "Plaga threads," she says. "Prototype. A parasite bred to drink a signal none of us believe in." The Emperor looks down at the man. "You felt it," he says. The man nods, small. "It hurts," he whispers. "It eats the part that dreams." Leon's jaw tightens. He looks away and then back. "We could have been using these on people," he says. like the thought is a taste he wants out of his mouth. Mikhail's hand rests on the man's shoulder for a breath, then leaves. Orders make. Men into tools, he says. Good men. Bad orders. A hunter staggers from a lecture hall and then stops dead like it hit a wall. The Emperor looks up. A shape stands in the doorway behind it. Trench coat, sunglasses, smile like a knife kept too clean. He applauds once. Elegant, Albert Wesker says. I prefer elegance. It speaks well of a mind. He tilts his head. You dislike my nulls. That is a shame. They were expensive. Jill's gun snaps toward him. He does not flinch. Agent Wong, he adds without looking away from the Emperor. I see you survived. Again. Ada's eyes do not blink. You need better cleaners, she says. She stands, like her red dress is armor, and the wind obeys her. Wesker looks the Emperor up and down like a collector deciding where a statue goes in a room. You do not belong here, he says, smile thinning. You make messes. I dislike mess. The Emperor studies him and sees layers. Officer, patient, predator, child. He also sees a void where a compass should be. It is not the clean void of a null. It is the picked clean void of a man who chose to stop caring about other people on purpose. Wesker lifts a hand in a small wave and leaves, steps silent, as if the building learned to let him pass. Hunters follow him at a polite distance. The door shuts on a laugh that does not make a joke. Leon exhales. I hate that guy, he says to no one in particular. Get the devices, Jill says. We take them back. We learn. Then we burn. They carry the dead harnesses out and load them into a bus trunk. The pale man sits on the curb and drinks water with both hands. He shivers. The Emperor touches his temple for 1 second and takes away the edge of a nightmare, not the whole thing. The man cries without sound and then stops, embarrassed by his own tears. They drive back to the station in a small convoy with lights off. The city is quieter. It is not calm. It is waiting. In the distance, a hospital generator hums on borrowed strength. In the library, they turn the reading tables into a war room. Maps, devices, samples, a scattered pile of radios that all work a little. The stone lions outside hold the courtyard like old soldiers with broken mouths. Jill takes the head of the room and gives it focus. We broke 2 nodes, she says. We slowed the strike. We gathered people. We have samples and these, she taps the null devices, which hurt our friend and make me very, very angry. Leon adds their path to the board. He draws boxes for cleared routes and X's for lost zones. He writes don't next to a street that ate a fire truck. Ada moves with a small screwdriver and a mind like a razor. She opens one device with surgeon care. Inside, a mesh of pale tissue twines around a coil. A small glass vial sits at the core. It holds a film that moves without moving. Plaga plus mold, she says softly. Very modern. They grew a nerve to hold a song. Then they taught the song to kill thought. The Emperor stands back from the table. He listens. He looks at the faces he has chosen to be his army tonight. A cop with fire in her chest. A rookie with a straight spine. A soldier who chose duty over brand. A spy with a soft spot that she hides from herself. A nurse with a bat. A scientist with a broken nose who keeps not giving up. He loves them in a way that is simple and enormous. It is not romantic. It is a father's pride. It is a maker's hope. Mikhail nods to the pale man in a blanket. He says they train nulls in the museum sublevels, he reports. They feed them drugs and lies. They tell them the silence is holy. Leon makes a face. We're going there, right? He asks. He wants to punch a wall. He chooses not to. He marks the museum with a circle instead. Jill looks at the Emperor. "Help me weigh this," she says. "We can go to the museum and free those men. Or we can go to the power company and break the last biggest node. If we miss, the strike hits, and none of this matters. If we leave those men, we are the thing we fight." She does not say, "I need you to say it." He hears it anyway. He answers with simple words that weigh a lot. "We save who we can and still win," he says. "We do both. That is our burden." Leon runs a hand through his hair and lets out a big breath. "Okay," he says. "Then we split." Ada raises one eyebrow. "Of course we do," she says. "This night loves splits." Mikhail moves a marker over the map, slow, like pushing a chess piece you can't take back. "I take museum," he volunteers. "I have men who know basements and locks." He smiles without humor. "And I like punching liars." Jill looks at Leon. "You go with him. You need to see this part," she says. "It is not a punishment. It is a lesson." He nods. "I take the power company," Jill continues. "I have the load charts from an old case. Ada, you can ride a desk and talk me through weird umbrella switch tricks." Ada's mouth quirks. "I will ride whatever I like," she says, and then she nods. "But yes." They all look to the Emperor. He meets their eyes, one by one. "I will walk where the field is thick," he says. "That will be the power company." He looks at Mikhail. "You will free men. That is holy work." The room goes quiet for a tick. It is the quiet of people making a choice to be more than they were yesterday. Ada breaks it with a tap on metal. "Before you go," she says, and points at the null devices. "We need to talk about limits." Power scaling interlude, I Arazi. Ada Wong, voice clinical. "These harnesses make a hole in the air. They do it with living tissue tuned to a frequency your brain hates. If you use your light too close, the hole widens and eats it." The Emperor, thinking, "My power is thought made real. A hole that drinks thought will drink it. I can push through it, but I will pay. The wall between worlds thins faster when I fight it." Mikhail practical. "So we shoot the straps and keep him outside the hush. We fight like men, ropes, bullets, fire. He fights like a man too when he must." Jill, focused. "We add an EMP if we can steal one. Kill the coils. Save the men. The Plaga stays alive without juice, but it loses the song." Ada, warning. "And remember, the more he shines, the more someone on the other side looks back. Your miracles ring bells." They move. The plan is simple in shape and hard in detail. Museum team: Mikhail, Leon, 2 UBCS, the pale man to show doors, the nurse because she insists and nobody can stop her. Power team: Jill, Ada on comms, the Emperor, the lab man with the case. A city truck driver who says, "My route touches that yard. I can get you under the gate." They leave the station by different streets. The stone lions watch both columns go like parents, with too many children and not enough days. On the way to the power company, they pass a plaza that used to host food trucks and now hosts a field clinic with 3 cots and 9 patients. A man in a raccoon high jacket sings to a toddler with a cut head. The song is off-key and brave. The Emperor pauses and lays a hand on the child's forehead. The cut stops bleeding. The man forgets to be ashamed of crying and lets tears run down his face. Jill peels the lab man off the back of the group when he starts to drift. "Stay with us," she says. "Head up. Breathe." He does. He will remember that voice for years. They reach the perimeter fence of the power yard. It hums with a low note. Ada whispers in Jill's ear through the radio. "Southside has a crew gate," she says. "Keypad code is probably 2580 or 0000 because people are lazy. If it's fancier, your friend can cut it." The keypad is fancier. The Emperor touches it, listens to the small brain inside, and teaches it a new game. It opens and thinks it is proud of itself. He smiles at that. Inside the yard is a forest of metal teeth. Transformers sit like giant sleeping animals. The main control room is a box with glass walls and a heavy door. Inside that box is another box, a cage with a new device bolted to the floor. It looks like the null harnesses mated with a generator. Cables run from it to the lines that feed the city. Ada's voice is dry. Of course they scaled it up, she says. Why ruin one man when you can ruin a city? The Emperor feels the field before he steps inside. It's a lake of cold. He could wade in. He could force it. He also has a better idea. Water, he says, looking up. Jill looks too. On the ceiling of the control room are sprinkler pipes. She grins. On it, she says, and pops a panel open with her knife. She crosses two wires with steady hands. The heads go off with a crack and then a soft hiss. Water falls. The null core seethes. Plaga tissue hates clean water. It curls. The field wobbles. The Emperor steps in, while it is confused, grabs the mount bolts with his hands and twists. The steel protests. The bolts give. The device fights. It wants to sing its song. He does not let it. He slams it upside down into its own power feed and holds it there while Jill throws the main switch. The device eats itself. The field collapses like a tent with the ropes cut. He lets go and steps back, slow. He feels fine for a step. Then a needle of cold runs through his skull. He reaches for a pillar and makes his hand stop shaking by telling it to. He breathes in. He breathes out. He is not a god. He is a man who keeps going anyway. Ada counts down from somewhere far away. 2 minutes of brownouts, she says. Then we wake the grid minus the bad toy. You have to cut the bypass line or they'll reroute. East Yard, panel 4C. They go. The East Yard is full of shape and shadow. Hunters ghost along catwalks. A tyrant stands in the open like a sign. Nemesis climbs a ladder and jumps down on the far side of the yard. It found them fast. Jill's voice is cool. I'll keep it busy, she says. The nurse looks like she is about to argue. Jill gives her a look that stops the words. It wants me, Jill adds. Let it want. The Emperor could say no. He does not. This is a tactical truth and a gift of courage. He honors it. 3 minutes, he says. No more. Jill sprints for an equipment maze, calls over her shoulder, and Nemesis follows with a growl that scratches the throat. She uses ladders, rails, ducts, and her memory of training houses with paint rounds and instructors who hated her and made her better. She keeps moving. She never lets it see where she will be next. She shoots on the run only when it is a sure joint. She uses bursts. She does not waste a bullet. The nurse watches and learns something about how much a person can be. The Emperor and the labman reach panel 4C. It is locked with a heavy seal that wants a code that took 3 weeks to invent. He slips a fingertip under the metal and lifts. It opens with an offended squeal. He looks at the nested breakers and chooses the right one by the color the world puts around lies. He pulls it. The yard lights go dead and then wake again with a tired flicker. Ada reports the change like calling a race. Reroute blocked, she says. The big net is now 2 frayed ropes. Offshore countdown slips again. They are going to hate me in the morning, if we get a morning. Jill takes a hit that drives the air from her body and keeps going because there is no other option. She lures Nemesis into a narrow corridor. The Emperor steps in from the other end and pins it with a length of industrial chain that once held a transformer in place and now holds a monster by the waist it made of a man. He locks the chain with a twist that would break most wrists. His do not break. Nemesis strains, plates bulge. A second mouth snaps and spits. The Emperor leans in and speaks with a voice meant for kings and children. Listen, he says. You do not have to be what they say. The monster's head ticks once, like a record with dust in the groove. Jill kicks open a door to a service balcony and waves him out. We go, she says. She does not want to win this fight tonight. She wants to win the war. They withdraw. The lab man looks back once at the device graveyard and then keeps his eyes forward like instructed. The nurse grips her bat so tight, her knuckles go white. Ada's voice is a thread that leads them through turns they did not see and stops them from putting a foot where a wire lives. They make it out. The yard behind them makes a sound like a drunk lion. Lights blink. The city breathes again. Not easy, not safe, but possible. At the museum, Leon and Mikhail get a different truth. The sub-levels smell like bleach and old blood. Training posters show cartridges and smiles. A camera watches from a corner and is already blind. The pale man leads them like a sleepwalker. His steps remember turns. His mind wants to forget. They find a row of men in chairs with head cages. The cages hum and drip. The men whisper prayers to silence. Mikhail murmurs, "My sons," and does not know why he used that word. The cages run on a central bar. Leon looks for a switch and finds 3. He chooses the one that hurts most eyes to look at. The hum stops. The men jerk. Some wake. One does not. Mikhail catches him and lays him down, eyes closed, mouth finally relaxed. A squad of umbrella security rounds the corner with practice shouts. They see a UBCS officer in an umbrella facility doing something that looks like mutiny and hesitate for one vital second. Leon uses it. He shoots first and low, knees, arms, guns fly. Mikhail's men finish with clean, measured force. The nurse helps a man out of a chair and does not let him look back. A field of null plates sits on racks like dinnerware. Leon kicks one and it clangs. He shivers. I hate these, he says. He means all of this. He means tonight. He means bad science done to good bodies. A side door opens and reveals a room full of posters that say words like hero and silence is service and holiness is quiet. Leon shoots the posters in the mouths. He feels better. He will feel worse later. He will live with both. Mikhail puts a hand on a free man's cheek. You are not tools, he says. You are men. He says it like he means it, and it works like medicine. They move. Alarm klaxons complain. A tyrant with a coat too neat steps out of an elevator with a punch ready. Mikhail steps into the punch and turns it into a throw down the shaft. Old trick, he says to Leon. Leon smiles at that. They get to the street with a chain of new people. The pale man looks at the sky like it is his first time seeing it. The nurse checks everyone's faces for that lost, far look and speaks to them until their eyes come back. They link up with the bus convoy at an intersection where a sandwich shop still glows, open, because no one told the sign, the truth. The drivers take the new ones in without talking. The city makes room for itself. Back at the station, the war council grows. A priest from the field clinic comes in and rolls up his sleeves. A machinist shows a bag of tools and says, I can make the funny coil stop singing. A woman from a grocery brings keys to 3 delivery trucks and a plan to fill them with bottled water and hope. Jill stands and lays out the next edge. We broke the grid, she says, but they will try something else. The strike can still land if they get a lock. We need to hold roads for buses, build a wall at the bridge, and hit the comms relay that handshakes the guidance. If we take the relay, we make them blind. Leon looks at the map. Relay is on City Hall roof, he says. Of course it is. Ada is already typing. Codes are old municipal with umbrella override, she says. I can fight the old ones. The new ones are polite. She smiles at her own joke and nobody laughs. She does not mind. The Emperor watches the room talk itself into courage. He says little. He sits with his back straight and his hands folded. He reads faces and hearts. When a volunteer wavers, he meets their eyes and nods. They steady. He uses power the way he should, sparing, at the right places with respect. A runner bursts in with blood on his sleeve. Bridge, he shouts. Hunters in packs. We got families stuck. Need a wall. His voice shakes. He hates it. He talks anyway. The Emperor stands. We will be the wall, he says. They move to the bridge at a half run. The sky glows with the wrong light behind the clouds. The river reflects it like a bad thought. On the far side, a line of cars and people choke the road. Hunters crawl over the rails. A tyrant drops from an overpass like a hammer. Jill sets a line. 2 ranks, she orders. Front kneel, back stand. Fire on my mark. Aim for joints. Hold center. Do not chase. It is a lesson from a world with muskets, born again with rifles. The Emperor hears it, and his heart jumps with an old pride. He steps in front of the line. He does not shine. He raises one hand and makes a small sign. Not magic, memory. He says, hold. The line holds. Hunters hit the first rank, like knives thrown by a god who hates people. Bullets meet them in a rolled wave. Knees punch backward. Throats explode. Bodies tumble under. The second rank fires through the gaps. The first rank reloads without looking. The UBCS stand shoulder to shoulder with cops in borrowed armor. Civilians who can shoot. Civilians who cannot pass magazines and hold lights. The tyrant wades in. The Emperor meets it barehanded. He drives it back with elbows and short chops. He lets it hit him once so he knows the weight and then adjusts. He never does the same thing twice in a row. He talks to Jill without looking. Left flank, he says. She shifts men before he finishes the words. A hunter slips through and reaches a boy in a green jacket. The nurse steps in and cracks its skull with the bat. She stares at the bat like it did something brave and then uses it again. The line does not break. It swells and straightens, surges and settles. The civilians on the cars start to move again. They flow past. They say thank you with their eyes and throats that cannot make more. Leon fires until his barrel is too hot to touch and then switches to a taken rifle that smells different and wrong. He stops a hunter with 3 quick shots like he practiced at a range with paper targets that never bled. He thinks about that and keeps going. Mikhail drags 2 men back into the line by their collars when they try to chase a kill. Hold, he growls. They hold. He meets the Emperor's eyes for a blink. 2 old soldiers share a nod like a handshake across a war. Nemesis arrives at last. It climbs a truck like a child climbs a toy and drops into the pocket in front of Jill. It stands tall and gathers its cable, new and wicked. It says STARS, like a curse and a prayer. The Emperor steps in, but not between it and Jill. He stands to its side, half a step back, and shows it an opening that is not really open. It takes it and stumbles. Jill plants 3 rounds in the back of its knee. It goes down on one leg and roars at a sky that is not listening. He traps the cable under his heel and rips. It pulls him a step and tries to pull the world. He gives it a smaller thing, the frame of the bridge light. The cable wraps it and gets stuck. He smiles and slides a finger along the housing. The light brightens and then pops. The cable twitches. Nemesis convulses. The Emperor takes that breath and drives a palm into his chest. Something breaks that was not meant to. He does not press. He pulls away and lets the line do what the line does. Hunters keep coming. The line keeps killing. The tyrant returns and eats a grenade it should not have eaten. It falls into the river and vanishes without drama. After 10 minutes that feel like a day, the bridge is theirs. The last family crosses. A woman in a coat too thin for the night hugs Jill so hard that their bones think about it. Jill hugs her back with one arm and then pushes her along with a smile. "Go," she says. "Drive." A cheer goes up and dies quick because no one wants to call the next wave with noise. The Emperor looks down at his hands. There is blood on the knuckles. None of it is his. He wipes it on a broken sign that once told people to slow down and now has no meaning. The priest from the clinic arrives with 3 kids carrying water crates. He looks at the line like a man at a miracle and a crime. The Emperor listens to his heart and hears no lies there. He nods to the priest like to appear. "Up to now," Jill says to the group in a low voice that carries, "we killed the grid, freed men from a bad room, held a bridge, and kept the sky from burning us for a few more hours. We found new weapons that hate our friend. We broke some. We will break more. Next, City Hall. We take their eyes." Ada's voice cuts in. "Small problem," she says, like a weather report. "Wesker moved assets to the roof. He uploaded a patch. The relay is now married to a biocore. It will pulse null when you touch code. He is learning. He is also angry." Leon wipes sweat with the back of his wrist. "Good," he says. "Let him be angry." The Emperor looks up at the clouds. He feels the cut he made to come here flutter like a wounded thing. He knows he will need it again. He knows it will cost more each time. He accepts that. He chose this. He chooses again now. They form up. They look like an army now, even if they are not. A rough banner goes up on a broken pole. A strip torn from a shop awning with a crude gold circle painted on it. Someone starts a low chant that is not a song yet. It spreads. It is the sound people make when they decide to live. They march towards City Hall under a sky that hates them. The street lamps flicker like old prayers. The null devices ride on a cart, broken and important. The man they saved from a cage walks in the middle and does not know where to look. The nurse taps her bat against her leg and sets a pace. As they turn a corner, the Emperor pauses. He feels eyes that are not eyes. He looks into a window and sees himself in the glass, and someone else behind that. Looking back from a place that smells like iron and old smoke. He closes his hand, and the feeling goes away. He does not tell Jill. He will tell her when it matters more. They cross a plaza full of pigeons that do not fly, because even birds know bad nights. City Hall rises like a bad joke. Clean columns, a clock stuck at a time that means nothing. A banner for a festival that will not happen. On the roof, a slim tower blinks a red light, with a heartbeat that does not care about people. He breathes in. He breathes out. He looks at Jill. She nods. They go in together. City Hall is a white cliff with lights that blink like a dead animal's eyes. The plaza is wide and empty. Flags hang still. The relay tower hums on the roof with a red pulse that says, "I see you." Jill leads the entry team through broken doors. Leon covers stairs with quick slices of his gaze. The nurse and the lab man hold back but hold firm. Ada talks in Jill's ear like a calm river. The Emperor walks last, watching the corners, feeling the pressure in the air rise as they climb. On the 3rd floor, a steel shutter blocks the main stairwell. Leon checks it with a gloved hand. "Welded," he says. "We can't. We waste time. Jill nods and takes a service stare she knows from an old protest detail. Roof access goes through records, she says. Keep low. Record smells like paper and mold. The shelves are aisles of old promises. A hunter skitters along the top of the stacks and drops on a clerk's desk. It looks at the team and clicks. The Emperor grips its ankle and removes it from the fight with one fast twist. He sets the body aside like a broken tool. They reach the roof door. Ada hums. Keycard plus bioscan. Umbrella overlay, she says. Left hinge has a hidden screw. Remove. Leon? He does it with a pocket knife and a grin that is more nerves than joy. The door opens. The roof is wet and bright. The relay sits on a frame like a steel spider. Umbrella techs in grey hoods work fast. A small turret wakes and sleeps in a half arc. 2 null-wearing guards flank the core like a curse made of habits. The Emperor feels the hush as a sheet of cold. It presses into his chest and gums the gears of his light. He does not overreach. He counts lines and men and angles. He moves. Jill takes left. Leon takes right. The nurse stays by the door with the labman. The Emperor engages the near guard with bare hands. Grip, step, strip the harness. He throws it over the parapet. It falls and goes quiet on the concrete 2 floors down. The cold loosens a little. The turret tracks. Ada says one word into Jill's ear. Down. Jill drops. The turret spits and harms no one. Ada adds, now. Jill pops up and empties a burst into the turret's feed arm. It locks in place and dies with a small cough. The second null guard presses in and tags the Emperor's shoulder with the cone. For half a second, his arm remembers being broken a long time ago. He turns, lets momentum help, and drives the guard into the dish frame. Steel bends. The harness hisses. He rips it free. Cold thins. The techs run. A slick man steps from behind the dish and claps once. He wears black like a joke and sunglasses like night is a friend. His smile is neat. He tilts his head as if he hears music. Good evening, Albert Wesker says. Welcome to the roof. Jill raises her pistol. Wesker's hand blurs. Her gun is on the far side of the roof before her finger registers the loss. Leon fires 3 rounds. Wesker moves between them like water. He is faster than he should be. His veins rise black for a breath and then sink. You are not my first god, Wesker says to the Emperor, but you may be my last. Imagine the data. His pupils flex like a lens. Imagine the world after this world, born from your measurements. The Emperor studies him with no hate, only care. You killed to fill a hole, he says. The hole is still there. Wesker smiles wider. I built a bridge over it, he says. That is civilization. He moves. The air around him distorts like heat on rock. His hands cut. His feet stamp. He fights like a file erasing lines. The Emperor meets him with short replies, body to body, no light. He lets blows land to taste them. They taste like plague and pride. Wesker twists and a spine of black matter grows along his arm. It is Ouroboros grafted to a human plan. He swings. The Emperor catches the blow and feels a needle go through his palm and into his mind. It is cold thought that denies other thoughts. It leaves a small, dark thing in him, a thorn made of a song he hates. He steps back and breathes once. The world lags by a quarter beat. He shakes it off by will. The thorn stays. It hums nil. Wesker grins. Do you feel that? He asks. An anti-prayer. A cure for your kind. He sweeps his arm. The spider frame groans. The dish aligns with a blue dot far out at sea. We are not so different, he adds softly. We both seek order. The Emperor moves in and breaks a rib with a heel. Wesker laughs and heals in front of their eyes. The black returns to his veins and then hides. He makes a small sound like a pleased child. Ada's voice touches Jill's ear. "Core bypass on your right," she says. "Break it, and the dish forgets the sky." Jill slides while the men trade blows that bend metal. Leon draws fire, low and loud. 3 techs turn and shoot. He ducks behind the parapet and holds. The nurse, eyes wide, tosses him a spare mag without being asked. He nods thanks, like it is the most normal thing. Jill reaches the bypass and slams her boot down. The casing cracks. Sparks spit. She tears a cable out with both hands. The dish shudders and goes out of tune. Wesker's mouth tightens. "Rude," he says. He throws a hand at Jill. A whip of Ouroboros flesh lashes across the roof. The Emperor steps into its path and takes it on his ribs. The whip bites and leaves a smear of the same nil inside him. His light stutters. He refuses to let his face show it. Wesker watches for the flinch and finds none. That angers him more than pain. He grows a blade and comes in for the neck, fast and sure. The Emperor's hand rises and meets it, palm to edge. Skin breaks, gold runs. He pins the blade and looks Wesker in the eyes. "No," he says. He twists. The blade snaps. Wesker jerks back and snarls for the first time, mask sliding. "You still don't understand," he says. "Order means control. Control means removing the small choices that ruin the big ones. I will do it. I will make a world that works." The Emperor hears the old song inside the new words. He has heard it on 1,000 worlds. He speaks quiet, so it will carry. "Order that deletes love eats itself," he says. "Order without mercy is a machine that grinds men into parts." Wesker's lips curl. "Mercy is a permission slip for failure," he says. "This city is proof." Nemesis climbs the fire escape and clears the parapet with a roar. It sees Jill and the STARS emblem. It chooses. It charges. Jill holds her ground, eyes bright. The Emperor must choose. Kill Wesker now and leave Jill to the monster for seconds too long. Or turn and save her and let Wesker run. He chooses her. He always will. He breaks from the duel and meets Nemesis mid-rush. Shoulder to chest. Force to mass. He turns the monster with his hip and hurls it into the satellite dish. Metal screams. The dish bends and dies. The red light goes dark. Wesker is gone when he looks back. He did not vanish. He left with a plan like a surgeon leaving an OR with a new idea. He took his pride and his thorn and went to build the next trap. Nemesis rises with a new growth, slick and raw, like a second head trying to be born. It hits the Emperor in the chest and knocks him into the parapet. The thorn in his mind sings. For one long second his light will not answer him. Jill reloads and fires at the growth. It pops in a spray. Nemesis reels. The Emperor pushes through the nil and answers with a hammer fist that breaks the floor under their feet. Nemesis goes down a level with the roof. Jill grabs a cable and swings away like a gymnast who learned too late. The roof sags and holds. Ada says, "Enough," in Jill's ear, and Jill agrees. "We're done," she says out loud. "We got what we came for." Leon nods. The nurse nods. The lab man grips his case so hard his hands go white. They withdraw down the stair. The Emperor covers the rear. Nemesis claws at the hole and tries to remember a name that the command thread does not allow. He watches it with pity that tastes like iron. Codex note. Ouroboros null thorns lodge in soul and nerve. They do not kill, they cancel. Each thorn makes the next miracle cost more. They regroup in the council chamber. Dust hangs in the air like old law. Jill writes on the board with a pen that skips. "Relay down," she says. "Grid broken. City still dying. Strike slower. We are still not safe." Leon sits hard and rubs his face. Wesker won't stop, he says. He wants our friend on a table. He wants us all in a file. He looks at the Emperor. How do we beat a man who has a new plan every hour? The Emperor leans on the table. The thorn hums. He ignores it with the easy skill of a man who has lived with worse. We take away his story, he says. He thinks control is the only way. We show him a city saved by trust. We prove him wrong with lives. Ada folds her arms. That is not a lab test, she says. That is a crusade. Words change in war, he answers, but the heart of them stays. A tremor runs through the building. The lights flicker and go dead. The air tilts. The world goes sharp and then soft. The Emperor looks up and sees the tear he made at the start spread thin across the ceiling like frost. He hears a voice he knows well, but not from this world. It is the voice of the throne, not as a machine, not as a prison, but as a promise. It says two words without sound. Come, now. He turns to Jill. I must go to the gate, he says. If I do not, we will lose more than a city. Jill measures him and makes her choice fast. Then we go with you, she says. Or no deal. She points at Leon, the nurse, the lab man. Small escort, no tourists. Ada watches the tear widen. Mid-transit intercept risk is high, she says. Things hit you where rules break. Then we hit back, Jill says. They run for the plaza. The tear spreads like a slow crack in glass. The Emperor reaches up and draws it down with 2 fingers. It opens into a long hall of gold and shadow that is not here, not there. The floor is black stone with stars in it. The air smells like cold incense and rain that fell long ago. 4 golden warriors step out to meet them, taller than any man, armor like a sun caught in metal, faces behind visors that look like judgment and mercy both. Adeptus Custodes, his house guard, eyes bright with joy and worry. 2 silent-robed figures walk with them, faces masked, air around them thick and dull, the Sisters of Silence, human blanks who drink witch fire without trying. They kneel and call him Lord. He raises a hand. None of that, he says. We have work. The custodians rise and move to the flanks. The sisters hold the air steady so the passage will not fray. They step into the hall. The city falls away like a dropped thought. The roof of the hall shows a sky of black with 1 white star. It is not a star. It is a fire that men call many names. He knows it as the sum of a species. Midway, something moves ahead. It is tall and wears plate that tries to be gold, but fails. The aquila on its chest is wrong. Crooked, sharp, mean. Its face is his face, if pride had won. Its eyes are kind in a way that erases. It carries a scepter that hums with the same kneel as the thorn. It bows. Brother, it says. Its voice is his voice with the love pulled out. Surrender your doubt. Let me do the hard part. I will make them obey and call it peace. I will save more. Jill lifts her pistol. A custodian eases her arm down without force. Careful, he says, voice a bronze bell. That thing is made from your lord's shadow. The Emperor studies the mirror. What do you call yourself? He asks. Sovereign, it says, the correct end of your line. He feels the sister's null cool his skin and slow his light. He feels the thorn answer the scepter. He knows a clean fight will not work here. He chooses words like weapons. You save bodies, he says. You kill souls. You erase choice and call it order. That is not my work. Sovereign smiles. It looks at Jill and Leon and the nurse and sees numbers. They are cost, it says. Cost that buys forever. Be brave enough to pay it. Jill speaks before he can. No, she says crisp. Not brave, lazy. You avoid the hard job. The hard job is to fight and not become the thing you hate. Sovereign flicks the scepter. The hall bends. The sisters struggle and hold. A custodian plants his spear and sings a line from a battle hymn. The words are old and simple. Stand. The Emperor steps forward and opens his hands. Come then, he says. Test me. Sovereign moves like a decree. The scepter writes a hush across the air. His light dims to a candle and then to a coal. He lets it. He meets the strike with human angles, with bones and tendons, and the memory of 1,000,000 drills. He fights like a soldier from before he was a myth. They trade strikes that scar the hall. Sovereign is perfect in form and dead in heart. The Emperor is flawed and full. He takes a cut along the ribs and chooses not to answer with flame. He answers with a throw that uses Sovereign's hunger against it. Sovereign hits the floor and rises without dust. The hall shivers. A long, low horn blows without sound. The white fire above them flares once. A single feather of light falls and lands on the Emperor's shoulder. It does not heal him. It steadies him. Reach the throne, the silent voice says to him and to all. Judgment waits. Sovereign hears it too and laughs once, short. Judgment will choose me, it says, because I win. The Emperor feints a block and steps past the scepter's cone. He traps Sovereign's wrist against his forearm and twists the joint past its design. The scepter drops. He kicks it away. Jill slides in under a custodian's guard and boots the scepter farther, a clean soccer pass into dark. Sovereign snarls for the first time. It grows blades from its palms, trying to become one more thing. The sisters raise their hands. The air congeals. The blades slow. The Emperor takes them on his braces and lets them curl. He sees himself in its face and grieves. You are my fear, he says. You are the part of me that wants to force a good ending. You are not wrong to want it. You are wrong to break the world to get it. He ends the fight. He palms Sovereign's chin, lifts, and taps its brow with 2 fingers. Not a blessing, a truth. He shows it a city where people choose and live. He shows it Jill saying hold. He shows it a nurse with a bat. He shows it Leon shaking and still shooting straight. He shows it a child hugging a rabbit. Sovereign's eyes twitch. For half a second, mercy breaks through the shell. It hurts more than a cut. Then it hardens. Weak, it says. No, he answers. Strong the right way. Something vast moves in the white fire. A gust of will pushes the Sovereign back as if a giant exhaled. Enough, the voice says, not with words. Bring your wound. Bring your pride. Sit. The hall tilts. The path opens. The Sovereign is thrown aside by a rule it thought it wrote. The team stumbles and then steadies. The custodians lift their spears and form a square. The sisters breathe out hard and keep walking. They arrive. The cathedral is not a building. It is a fact. Pillars rise into a dark that is not night. A throne sits on a mountain of light and bone. Choirs that are not mouths sing. The air tastes like tears and salt and paper. The banners hang from nowhere and do not move. Golden guards line the aisle, silent. At the foot of the steps, women without voices stand with palms out, drowning all stray magic in quiet. A man in iron and red steps aside as they pass. A Titan's shadow lies across a far wall like a sleeping god. Even here, engines of war keep vigil. The pageantry hurts because it is beautiful and because it costs too much. The Emperor walks up the steps and stops 10 below the seat he knows too well. He does not take it. He kneels. He hears the voice of the throne without sound, inside bone, under thought. Old friend, it says. It is not a person. It is the memory of a species made honest. You carry a new wound and an old sin. He does not defend himself. Yes, he says. I broke too much to keep more. I promised not to break what I could save. Jill stands below, head tipped back, eyes wide. She sees gold and ghosts and a map of a future she cannot read. She feels a clean fear and a big hope. Leon stands with his hands at his sides and tries not to touch anything. The nurse weeps once and then stops and smiles in a way she did not know she could. The throne sends images, not orders. A city burned. A city saved by chains. A city saved by trust and loss and hurt hands. It shows Wesker's face and the dark line behind his smile. It shows Sovereign's eyes and the small mercy not dead yet. It shows the sky fire waiting for a name to write. The Emperor lowers his head. Tell me the line, he says. Tell me what I may do without becoming what we fear. Silence deepens. Then words that are not words settle like law. Do not rule minds, the throne says. Do not erase choice to save time. Do not widen the wound between worlds for pride. If you must open a road, close it and pay. He accepts each like a stone on his shoulders. They feel right. They feel heavy. They feel like him. He hears one more line. When you show mercy, do it with eyes open. When you kill, do it with tears, not with joy. When you judge, let another human speak first. He bows deeper. So sworn, he says. The light brightens and then dims. A small piece of gold breaks from a banner and drifts down. He catches it. It becomes a thin circlet that fits inside his helm, right above his brow. It is not power. It is a reminder. He rises. He turns. The custodians kneel. The sisters incline their heads. Jill looks at him like he is more and less than before, both true. The path opens back to the hall. On the way, the Sovereign waits by the wall like a statue with breath. It watches him pass. It does not attack. It whispers as he goes by, too soft for anyone else. You will fail, it says. I will, he answers, just as soft, and I will stand again. They step into the hall, and it flips into the city's night. The tear seals with a last taste of incense. The street is cold and loud again. Sirens and wind and a distant scream make a harsh song. His ribs hurt. His hand bleeds. The thorn burns and then cools. Power scaling, interlude soon to Buisi. Under the new oath, he may use bright power only to shield, not to rule. Each opening of a gate must close with a paid cost, strength, memory, or time. Null fields and Ouroboros. Null thorns drain him faster now. The sisters or other blanks can thin that drain, but cannot stop it. He can call one, custodian or a small relic's help for a breath. Once per battle, no more. Small mercies cost less than great miracles, so he must choose many small mercies over one ruinous blaze. They land in the plaza by the stone lions. The war room doors slam open. Mikhail runs out with ash on his face. He holds a child with a cut scalp. Behind him, men with marks from cages sit with blankets and tea and eyes that try to refocus. Bridge holds, Mikhail reports. Buses run. But city power is spiking in a weird rhythm. Umbrella moved to the river plant. And Wesker. He left a message. He points to a screen on a table. The video picture is clean, the voice smoother than glass. Wesker appears, calm in the dark. You are admirable, he says. That is not praise. It is a note for a file. You slowed the strike. Clever. You visited your god. Cute. I will still win. His mouth softens in something like a smile. I will show you a mercy you would not show me. Leave this city, and I will keep my fire within it. Stay, and I will take your light apart piece by piece. The video ends. A dot map flickers. Lines converge on the river. Nemesis paces along a tank farm like a sentry that wants to be a man. A new shape stalks beside it, tall and wrong. A tyrant cracked open and filled with mold and plaga. It moves like a priest. It wears a chain with an umbrella badge, like a faith. Jill meets the Emperor's eyes. "We're not leaving," she says. "Not one bus behind, not one nurse, not one kid. If we burn doing the job." He nods. "Then we go to the river," he says. "We cut the last net. We get our people out. We finish this." Ada tightens a strap on her arm. "The plant has blind corners for days," she says. "Lots of metal. Lots of places for null to bounce. You will hate it. I will hate it. We will do it anyway." Leon slides a magazine into place and snaps it with a neat click. "I hate the river," he says to no one, which is how he tells Fear to sit down. They move out again with an escort smaller than before. The custodians do not come. The oath forbids it. The sisters cannot stay. This world gnaws at them. The team looks very human and very small, and it is right. On the way, they pass the field clinic. The priest stands by the door, face pale, hands busy. He looks up at the Emperor and nods. "I don't know what you are," he says, "but I know what you're doing." He squeezes a hand that trembles and keeps working. The Emperor leaves 2 words with him. "Be steadfast." The plant rises by the river like a ship yarded in pipes. Steam drifts. Lights flash in patterns that are almost language. The umbrella logo is painted on a tank the size of a chapel. The fence is cut in 3 places already by men who came here and did not return. Jill lays the plan with her finger on a wet map. 2 teams, she says. Leon, Mikhail take the intake valves. Kill flow to the grid. Emperor and I hit the control room and the biocore. Ada, feed us routes and wicked thoughts from the station. Ada whispers, wicked thoughts coming right up, and starts opening locks from a mile away. They slip through grates and catwalks like fish through reeds. Hunters drift by and die quiet, in crossfire that Leon calls in clean, tight lines. Mikhail plants shaped charges like big, gentle seeds. The nurse shoulders her bat and a stolen pistol and watches flanks with eyes that see motion like a hawk. Outside a control door, the Emperor puts a hand on Jill's shoulder. If I fall, he says simple. You hold. She nods. If I fall, she says, just as simple. You forgive. He smiles at that. Done. They breach. The control room is glass and steel and a wrong smell. In the center, a tower of living tissue throbs inside a cage of coils. The biocore. It is mold braided with plaga, soaked in Ouroboros. It pulses a hush that makes the lights dim and the tongue dry. It has a mind. It does not think. It pushes. Nemesis turns from a window like a faithful dog called to heel. The priest tyrant steps forward and opens its hands, palms up. It speaks in a soft, ruined voice. Lay down, it says. Be fixed. The Emperor feels the thorn flare and the oath sit heavy and good. He will not burn this room to ash. He will not bend minds. He must do the hard thing the hard way. He raises his hands and meets the Nemesis again in the space between machines. Jill circles left, eyes on locks, heart on mission. The Nemesis fights like a child that was never held, all force and need. He gives it structure with pain and direction, with check and release. He stays inside the arc of the chain. He takes cuts. He gives breaks. He talks to the man in the meat. You are not a word in their mouths, he says between strikes. You are a name. The priest tyrant steps in and hums. The hush deepens. Jill stumbles and then walks through it by whispering her own name 3 times like a spell. She reaches the coil cage and starts cutting straps with a knife that used to open letters and now opens pain. She hates the feel of the tissue on her hands and keeps going. Leon's charges go off out on the river. The plant groans. The intake valves slam shut. Offshore, a ship sees lights blink and a timer slip, and a captain mutter a prayer he thought he forgot. Nemesis hesitates with Jill in the corner of its eye. The Emperor takes that slice and feeds it a lesson in balance. He puts it on the floor with a joint lock and holds without hate. "Breathe," he says to it. "Remember." The priest-tyrant raises a hand to strike. Jill throws a fire extinguisher into its face without looking. It staggers. She keeps cutting. The biocore senses threat and turns its hush to a scream. The thorn in the Emperor goes bright and hard. He drops to one knee. He sees two futures at once. This room burning with everyone inside, and this room clean with one man standing and worse bargains made. He chooses the third path. Pain now, mercy later. "Jill," he says, "on my mark." He calls a small light, not the sun, a candle. He presses it into the base of the biocore like a surgeon cauterizing a wound. It shrieks without sound and curls away. The hush falters. "Mark," he says. Jill throws the main breaker. The coils starve. The biocore collapses into a dark mass that steams. The priest-tyrant moans and reaches for the shape like a father for a child. The Emperor steps in and breaks its neck with a prayer in his chest. He does not hate it. He frees it. Nemesis rises again with a new plate, like a bad thought that will not leave. Jill puts 2 rounds into a joint. The Emperor takes the chain in his hands and pulls. He tears it free. He presses his forehead to the monster's and whispers a name he feels more than knows. The monster shakes. Something moves under its skin like a memory. The control boards go dark. Outside, the grid map loses the last line. Offshore, the strike dies. A man in a tie screams into a phone in a room with no windows. Albert Wesker watches a counter go to 0 and does not scream. He smiles, small and strange. He has 1 file left to write. In the quiet after, the Emperor leans on a console and shakes. Jill puts a hand on his arm. "We did it," she says. He nods once. They walk Nemesis to a storage bay and close a heavy door in front of it. It does not roar. It leans on the door like a man against a wall when a day is too much. Jill stares at the bulkhead. The Emperor speaks soft. "Tomorrow," he says, "if there is one." They exit into dawn that thinks about being real. The sky is still wrong. The city is hurt, but the fire from the sky does not come. Buses roll, people move. The priest from the clinic stands in the street and laughs once, big. Leon sits on a curb and lets his hand shake because the job lets him now. Mikhail leans on a truck and watches the road with eyes that have seen too much and still look. Up to now, they broke the relay, bled on a roof, took a thorn that eats miracles, walked a golden hall, refused a perfect lie, took a vow that limits power and raises people, and cut the last cord that would have burned a city off a map. The enemy is not done, neither are they. The day begins anyway. Dawn does not warm the city. It only makes the smoke easy to see. People form lines for buses. The war room smells like coffee and wires. The Emperor stands by the map and feels the throne stir in his bones again. The voice is not sound. It is weight. 3 visions open in the air like windows. First, return. He steps back through the gate, seals it, and keeps the wider war safe. Raccoon City limps away from this night with bruises and names. Jill survives. Leon survives. Some buses break down outside town and are found by help that is late but real. Umbrella moves its work inland and faster. Without him, the strike returns in another form weeks later. Fewer die now, more die in corridors and courts. The memory of gold fades from most minds. The child with the rabbit grows up and tells a story that sounds like a dream and is not believed. Second, free agent. He stays and acts alone. He breaks labs like toys. He carries men out of fire with one hand. Umbrella falls here, then blooms somewhere else with a new name and better lawyers. Governments panic. The world tries to copy him or kill him. Churches form around him without his consent. Wars start that should not. Jill becomes a symbol against her will. Leon dies in a stairwell that should have been covered because everyone counted on the angel to cover it and forgot to bring a second line of fire. Third, sanctioned servant. He binds himself to rules written with local hands. He stands under mortal command and counts miracles like bullets. He loses pride and speed. He gains trust and reach. He saves fewer in a day, more in a year. The gate stays small. The bigger war out there stays asleep. Jill keeps the radio. Leon keeps his badge. The city keeps its soul. The price is simple and hard. He must let some fights happen without him and live with that. The visions close. Jill watches his face and sees the debate land. "I won't worship you," she says, not unkind, "but I'll work with you, and I'll fire you if you break a rule." He almost smiles. "Good," he says. "I need people who say no." Leon lifts a hand. "This sanction thing," he says. "Spell it out. Plain." The Emperor nods and speaks like reading a law he just wrote on his own heart. "I will not rule minds. I will not erase choice to save time. I will not open the gate wide. I will ask a human commander before striking, unless seconds decide lives. I will count every blaze and pay for each. I will stand between monsters and people, not between people and their choices." "And command?" Jill asks, chin up. "You," he says. "Until a better system writes a badge for this, you will be my local law. When you fall, another human voice will take that post before I move. I answer to that voice on this world." Ada leans on the door. "What about when this world and your empire disagree?" she asks, eyes sharp. "Then I do the smaller harm," he says, "and I send word to my house to keep its hands off. I can do that much." Ada lets a breath out. "That is enough for me to play," she says. He opens his hand over the map. A small gold light lifts and divides. It draws a circle around the city, and then a sigil over the police crest. The double-headed Aquila holding the RPD star, the umbrella disc cracked underfoot. The light melts into the cloth of a flag on the wall and stays there, faint and firm. Buses honk outside. A cheer starts and dies, then comes back smaller and real. Mikhail sets his helmet on the table and bows his head for 1 second to no one and nothing, and stands up ready. The throne's weight leaves his bones like a tide that kept its time. A last whisper remains. Choose, then act. He turns to Jill. "Make it law," he says. Jill climbs onto a chair, holds up a battered clipboard, and speaks like roll call. "By emergency authority and common sense, we form the Raccoon Compact," she says. "If the golden guy breaks it, I'll shoot him and he'll let me. If we break it, he leaves. The rule is simple. Save the most people without breaking their wills or the world. Everyone who agrees, raise a hand." Hands rise. Cops, UBCS, medics, drivers, civilians with red eyes and steel in their spines. Ada does not raise her hand, but she sets down 3 fresh access badges. That is her yes. The Emperor bows his head. "I serve under this," he says. He feels the thorn in him shift. The new circlet at his brow warms. The poison does not vanish. It wraps in gold and stops spreading. He keeps the hurt. He loses the rot. That is what mercy looks like when it is fair. Nemesis slams the door of its bay once, then stops. A faint sound comes through metal. It is not a roar. It is a broken syllable that might be a name. We move, Jill says, back to work like always. Evac lanes first, sweep the last pockets. Then we go get the bastard. They spend the next hours doing small things that save big lives. The Emperor holds a collapsing stairwell while 20 people scramble down. He does not glow. He grunts. He pays. A team clears a school gym and finds 3 teachers running a head count with a dry erase marker and grit. A UBCS private who had been waiting all night to tell his joke finally gets to, and it is bad, and it makes the line laugh anyway. The nurse stitches a man's scalp with fishing line and tells him he will get a better scar story if he stops moving. Leon drives the last bus like he was born in a seat. Ada sits in the radio room, fingers flying. She spoofs routes, spikes umbrella trackers, and drops a file to 6 reporters in 6 cities. The file is clean, heavy, and will ruin men who thought they had time. Mikhail takes the freed null soldiers into the morning and shows them a river. He makes them say their names out loud. Some stutter, some cry. None of them say, "I am a tool." They drink water and call it holy, which is correct. By noon, the city is no longer a kill box. It is a wound that will heal ugly and strong. The fire from the sky never comes. The ship offshore changes course and vanishes into grey like a lie that found a tide. Now choice must turn into a last push. Wesker did not die. He retreated to the one place left with doors no one honest would open. The underground lab at the river's root. He has samples, notes, a personal dose of Ouroboros, and a plan to move the game to another board. He will not leave if he can turn this into a win. Pride pins him better than any trap. They walk the last road together. Jill, Leon, Mikhail, the nurse, 2 freed nulls who asked to come, and the Emperor. Ada's voice threads their ears. The lab doors open like lips that lie. This air is cold and clean and false. Wesker waits in a gallery of glass. Tanks hold shapes like guesses. Screens show graphs that lie to their owners. He stands on a catwalk above a pool of liquid as black as pride. He wears no sunglasses now. His eyes glow with a lab light built inside a man. "Congratulations," he says, voice honey and steel. "You chose the leash." He looks at Jill. "You will walk him?" "I'll fire him," she says flat. He nods. "We all need hobbies." He flicks a switch with a finger that holds 3 patents and 2 deaths. Gates open out over the pool. Ouroboros slithers with thoughts that are not its own. It rises like a question that hates answers. The Emperor steps forward and stops. He will not burn this room and crack the world. He will not push his will into minds. He will not open the gate wide and drown the lab in sun. He will have to be smart and small. "Leon," he says, without looking. Leon sees the fire control sprinklers and the chemical lines. He smiles with half his mouth. He was a rookie last night. He is something else now. "On it," he says, and moves. Mikhail takes the freed nulls and puts them on a flanking stair with a clear line of fire. "Aim low," he says. "We are men, not hammers." Ada whispers, "Main pump, left console, cut the 3rd line." Jill takes a breath and runs up the right catwalk. Wesker watches her come and waits. He wants the fight. He wants the data. He wants to win with style. The Emperor meets Ouroboros at the pool edge. It lashes. He lets it hit steel and not skin. He takes the blow that will topple computers and not people. He shoves it back with body and leverage and restraint. The circlet warms. The thorn hums and does not spread. Leon cuts the line. The system spits foam meant for oil fires, It coats Ouroboros. The mass hates it and recoils. Jill hits a valve with her boot and dumps more foam. Mikhail's team shoots brackets, not flesh. The catwalk sags under Wesker's feet. Wesker looks down with annoyance. "Always peasants with hoses," he says. He injects himself with a neat thrust and smiles as veins rise and settle. He leaps for Jill with speed that takes breath. The Emperor is there. He does not shine. He catches Wesker with a lock that costs him skin and takes his arm out of the fight for 3 beats. Jill uses those beats like money. She rams a shock baton into the syringe port in his neck. He spasms, heals, and shrieks, a sound he thought he was above. "Order," he snarls. "I will make it." "Not here," Jill says, and hits him again. The foam chokes Ouroboros into a thrash that tears its own mass. The pool boils without heat. The lab tilts like a boat. Alarms complain with 100 little voices. The Emperor chooses the exact size of miracle the oath allows. He closes the gate for one breath in a perfect ring around the pool, not opening it, not pulling from it, simply telling the world to be still right there. The water obeys. Ouroboros loses leverage. It slumps. The ring costs him like a mile run inside his bones. He holds it for a count of 5 and lets it go. "Now," he says. Leon hits the drain. The pool drops. The mass falls into steel that was never meant to hold it and jams, helpless for a human minute. Jill goes for the final breaker. Wesker meets her with a scream and a blade like a law. The Emperor steps between. He does not say a line. He bleeds and smiles and blocks. He turns Wesker's blade into a lever that throws the man into a safety rail hard enough to crack it. Mikhail's freed nulls shoot bolts that pin Ouroboros to steel like a hide to a fence. The nurse pulls a man from under a fallen console and slaps him awake because she refuses to let him be an afterthought. Jill throws the breaker. The lab dies. The lights go to ghosts. The pool drains to stink. Ouroboros dries into filth that will burn. Wesker breathes hard, eyes bright with hate and awe. "You won a town," he says soft. "I will win a world. Different one, same shape. You cannot be everywhere." "True," the Emperor says, "but she can be here." He nods at Jill. Jill steps forward and cuffs him like he is just a man. "Albert Wesker," she says, "you are under arrest for things I cannot fit on this line." He does not resist. He smiles with half his mouth. He wants a courtroom the way some men want a ring. He thinks he will run before the gavel falls. He might. That is tomorrow's job. They walk out into noon that is not bright, but is honest. Sirens sound like hard work, not panic. Buses run their last loops. A kid eats a stale granola bar like it is a feast. The Raccoon compact flag hangs from the station wall, gold faint over blue, the umbrella disc under heel. Jill stands on the steps and gives the only speech anyone needs. "We are alive," she says. "We did it together. We keep doing it. If someone starts a fire like this again, we put it out faster." The Emperor watches her and feels the right kind of small. He turns to Leon. "You did well," he says. Leon shrugs, eyes wet. "I had help," he says. Nemesis stands at the end of the block, half in shadow. It does not come closer. It watches the flag. It touches its own chest, where a chain used to be. It makes a sound like a man trying to hum. Then it turns and walks away, slow, like a person who does not know where home is yet. Ada appears, hand in a pocket, mouth tilted. "I sent the files," she says. "Umbrella will bleed in courts and stocks." She looks at the Emperor. "Your compact is cute. Be careful. Systems swallow saints." "I am not a saint," he says. "I am a worker." She nods at that and leaves without a goodbye because she does not like endings. In a room with no windows, a board meets with bad coffee and worse plans. They watch a man in cuffs and a city under a strange flag and write words like contain and pivot. They are not finished. They never are. Far away on a world of iron and prayer, a scribe records a flicker in the Astronomicon and writes a note to an inquisitor with more questions than answers. A flare of sanctioned light touched an uncharted sphere, the note reads. It did not burn. It healed within rules. The inquisitor frowns and starts a file that will never close. The emperor walks to the church with the chain doors and the sign that said full. He breaks the chain with 2 fingers and opens both doors. Inside, the benches are dusty. The air is still. He draws a small mark above the frame and steps aside. People drift in, tired, angry, grateful, hungry. A woman in a hoodie starts sweeping because no one else will. A man lights a candle and laughs at himself and leaves it lit. Jill joins him on the steps. You staying? She asks. I will come when called, he says. If the compact holds and the gate stays small. There are other fires. She nods. We'll call, she says. She sticks out a hand like a partner. He shakes it. Boundaries, she adds, businesslike, to make it real. 1. No mind tricks. 2. No big holes. 3. No secret prisons. 4. You tell me if the sky gets thin. 5. When you leave, you say goodbye. Agreed, he says. And you, if I ask you to wait while I count the cost, you wait. If I say no to a miracle, you trust I mean it. If I fail, you say it to my face. Deal, she says. A small girl tugs his greave. It is the child with the rabbit. She holds out the toy for a solemn inspection. He's clean now, she says. He is brave, the emperor answers. He taps the rabbit's ragged ear with 1 finger. The cloth mends half a stitch, no more. He stops. He must not make a toy a relic. He must let small things stay small. The buses roll out for the last time. Drivers honk. People wave. The flag flaps once and lies still. The city breathes like a runner who lived. He looks up. The cut in the sky is a thin scar now. He can open it again if needed. It will never be free. He likes that. Limits keep men honest. He steps back into the war room and writes 1 line on the board in a neat hand before he goes. Mercy first, duty next, pride nowhere. He opens a small door of light that does not roar. He looks at Jill and Leon and Mikhail and the nurse and nods. He leaves and closes it with both hands. The room smells like incense for 1 second and then like coffee again. Epilogue. Wesker rides in the back of a van with cuffed hands and a mind like a knife that will not sleep. He smiles at a camera he knows is on. Adapt, he whispers. Nemesis finds a quiet tunnel and sits. It touches its neck and hears nothing. It looks at its hands like tools it might learn to use for something else. It hums. The hum is off-key and brave. Ada watches a news ticker roll and sips bad tea. She turns off her phone and walks into a crowd like a ghost. A postcard arrives at the station a week later with no return address. It has 2 words. Nice flag. Leon writes his report. It reads like a story a kid would understand. He files it with a smile that hurts his cheeks. He goes to the range and shoots tight groups because he knows who he might need to be again. Jill stores the compact on paper in a drawer and online in 3 copies. She adds a line to her desk plaque with a marker. Hold. She goes on patrol with a bat in the trunk because she likes what it says about knights. The child with the rabbit sits on a bus seat and watches the city get small. She holds the toy and whispers, "Be brave," to it and to herself. The clouds part for a second, and a thin bar of sun touches the stuffed ear. She laughs once. she decides to keep telling the story even if no one believes it. A Quiet in the Warp notes a promise kept and writes it as law in a place that men cannot see. Somewhere, a god that eats pride loses an appetite for one day and does not know why. Codex note: by the Raccoon Compact, Sanctioned Protector status binds the Emperor to civil command, forbids mind rule and wide gates, and counts each miracle as spent ordnance to be justified in open report.